Well, it says I'm live. I know I'm alive. I think I'm alive. I feel like I'm alive. Of course, I could be dead. Maybe when you're dead, you feel like you're alive. I don't know. You're certainly not here. You're sleeping, or just I don't know. It's one of the great unanswered questions of life. What happens when we die? Well, today I'm remembering a man, sadly, who has died. He left us. Oh, I guess about. See, when did he die? 2011. Trying to remember exactly, but I'm talking about Dr. Billy Taylor. Billy Taylor was a friend, a mentor, phenomenal musician, an innovator in many ways in media, and a remarkable human being. And I had the good fortune of working with Billy in a number of different capacities. The last 10 years, 12 years of his life, I produced his website. I did a lot of videos with him. He was a consultant on two projects I worked on at the beginning of the Internet Jazz Central Station and the Global Music Network. He was a friend and he was a supporter of what I'm doing. In fact, if not for Billy Taylor, there would be no jazz video guy. Because in 2004, 2005, when I was working with Billy on his website, YouTube arrived and I returned to filmmaking and started to produce videos. And he was kind enough to let me interview him on video. And also, he had in his apartment in Riverdale, New York, next to Lauren Schoenberg's apartment, a closet full of old VHS tapes from different performances. So I was looking at those tapes one day and I said, Billy, can I take some of these tapes and put them on the internet, put them on the web, put them on the jazz? Well, that was before it was the Jazz Video Guy channel. At that point, 2005, it was an idea about posting video on the web, paying for a streaming server and posting on the website, which evolved to Jazz Video Guy, my Jazz Video Guy channel, which debuted in March 2006. So Billy gave me all these videotapes, and there's hundreds on this channel, hundreds of tapes of Billy, including his groundbreaking 1958 show, The Subject is Jazz, where he covered a lot of aspects of the music with experts sometimes, like Leonard Feather, and some incredible musicians, of course, Billy's friends. Duke Ellington appeared on the show, Ben Webster, Cannonball Adderley, Doc Severinsen, who just turned 95 a couple of weeks ago, was a trumpet player who played in the house band on the show. And I think, look at it, one of the best shows about jazz ever done, certainly, on television. Billy did a lot of other things in the media. He was a DJ on the radio. In fact, that's where I first found out about Billy Taylor. I was growing up in a suburb of New York called West Hartford, Connecticut. It was about 110 miles from New York, and I was interested in jazz and started to look for it on the radio. And lo and behold, Billy Taylor was on, at that point, two stations, WLIB, which I could not pick up that far away, and WNEW. And it was either Saturday or Sunday or both. He was on for an hour or two in the afternoon. And he was so cool. I mean, that was one of the things that drew me into the music. Billy was so hip, and the way he spoke and the way he explained the music was great. It was phenomenal. How's my audio, by the way? I haven't done this in a while. So let me know if the audio is loud enough. So I started listening to him, and then on record as well. Very prolific guy. And then I got to New York. And by the time I was like 18 or 19, I was heavily into jazz. I was very lucky to grow up in a place and in a time when, as a teenager, I heard live by the time I was 17 or 18 Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Maynard Ferguson, Stan Kenton, Stan Getz, Cannonball Adderley, Yusef Lateef, Rahsaan Roland Kirk, Jackie Byard Quartet with Joe Farrell. Wow. So I came to New York to go to NYU Film School, and a guy who became a friend of mine named Richard Dubin was a trumpet player, former trumpet player at that point, but a protege of Clark Terry. Of course, Clark Terry and Billy Taylor were really tight. So I went to see Billy. I think Clark played with him that day. It was a Jazzmobile thing, another of Billy's innovations, bringing free jazz concerts to the streets of New York. Billy, I forget the other guys in the band at that point. Billy Taylor and Clark Terry. Clark introduced me to Billy. That's when I first met him. Of course, I was enchanted with his playing, and meeting him for the first time. Billy Taylor was the kind of guy who made you feel like you were the only person in the room. I mean, when you met Billy Taylor, he looked at you, he talked to you, he listened to you. He wasn't a star. He wasn't a narcissist, an egomaniac. He was just someone who cared about people, but also cared about the music. In fact, he coined the phrase America's classical music. That's what he considered jazz. Billy played with so many great people over the years through different TV shows. He did another show. Some of the clips are up on my channel here, where he did piano duos with Tommy Flanagan, Blossom Dearie, Les McCann, Monty Alexander, John Lewis, and many, many recordings. Thankfully, all available on YouTube. Thank you, Adam S., for the feedback. By the way, if you have any questions about Billy Taylor, about Jazz Video Guy, happy to answer them here at this time. There is a live chat option here. I know some people just like to kind of lurk. They really just want to watch. They don't want to talk. But I welcome your comments, your feedback. This is supposed to be an interactive medium. Adam S., who has is that a blackbird or a crow, is an avatar there. I can't imagine what that means, but I'm just going to assume it means bird lives. Seems pretty apropos. So I got to know Billy through going to different gigs over the years, hearing him play. And then I think the first really quality time we spent together, I did what is my favorite Billy Taylor recording? Boy, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. So many there. I'll have to get back to you on that. Actually, I can't think of the name of it right now, but the one that I really dig is the one that he did with Jerry Mulligan later. It's a crow, Adam says, his favorite bird. All right. I like crows. I like birds in general, except when they shit on my head. No, wait, that never happens. Except for that scene in High Anxiety when Mel Brooks was his tribute to Hitchcock. That scene in The Birds were in Hitchcock's 1964 horror film where birds attack people. Mel Brooks did kind of a thing on that where he was being chased by birds and birds were crapping on him. Funny. Zeldy Malevitz, I hope I'm pronouncing you right. I did not hear Billy, Brownie, and Bird. You mean you didn't hear them in person? Well, you'd have to be probably in your 80s now to have heard Billie Holiday live. Brownie, unfortunately, left us in a tragic car accident when he was 27. And Bird also left us in the mid-50s. But their music is eternal. And we try to keep it alive here on the Jazz Video Guy channel. So let's see, back to my Billy Taylor timeline here. So I did an interview with him, I think for Jazz Times, in the mid-90s, I believe. I got a chance to sit down with him, and he was a great storyteller, fantastic experiences. And then I was one of the founders of the first major jazz site, Jazz Central Station. Larry Rosen, the Alexander the Great of the music business, jumped on the internet and put millions of dollars into the first major jazz website, Jazz Central Station. I helped to produce it for a while. And Billy was the consultant to the site. So Billy and I spent more time together. And then we used to go, when he did that, and afterwards, I worked on a site called Global Music Network in the late 90s. Billy was the consultant to that site as well. So we used to do shows together, the infamous International Association of Jazz Educators shows, which were fantastic conferences in the 90s. They started in the 80s, but in the 90s, they were big events. And over into the 2000s, for a minute, unfortunately, that organization went belly up, combination of factors, subject of another video. After that, I started producing Billy's website. I think it was his first website. It was his first website. And that's when I got into video. I started as a filmmaker and a jazz fan as a teenager. Went to NYU Film School, became a music journalist because of my love of the music. And then was writing plays and do other things. I actually didn't get back into filmmaking until 2004. Lowered cost of production, camcorders, video editing. Started to do videos for musicians that I was working with at that time. I was producing websites for Billy Taylor, Sonny Rollins, Joe Lovano, who were all extremely supportive and helpful. And hey, Vincent, nice to see your face on the place here. Vincent Herring is a phenomenal musician. I have a video of him on the side here when he played tenor with Horace Silver, better known as an alto player, carrying the torch that Cannonball Adderley put out there. So an honor to have Vincent Herring in the house today. Of course, maybe there's more than one Vincent Herring. Who knows? It's possible. Look, I could have never imagined there would be more than one Brett Premack. I mean, that's a weird fucking name, man. It turns out there's another Brett Premack. Although I spell my name with one T, he spells his name with two. He's a realtor in Las Vegas, Nevada. I never spoken to him. I know he's got a website. But hey, so maybe there's, I hope, well, I know the one Vincent Herring who's a phenomenal musician and a great person. I don't know any others. And hello, Vincent. So started doing these videos with Billy. At first, taking a lot of his tapes from the closet and posting them. And then we started to do interviews. And of course, doing interviews with Billy was fantastic because Billy had just unbelievable stories. Now, Zelda says, Billy was my teacher via radio, then at college. Continued when I worked for Ed Beach, Just Jazz, WRVR, one of the great early jazz programs in New York. WRVR, the first 24/7 jazz radio station back in the 70s. Ed Beach, a wonderful teacher and disc jockey for the music. Billy says, Billy was knowledgeable, a gentleman, and approachable. My first post disappeared. Thanks for all you've done. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. Approachable. Yes. You know, I was with Billy, and as I mentioned, I did many conferences with him and gigs. And of course, people would want to talk to him. And he was so warm. He was like, you know, it's like he was a friend who knew you for a long time. He was that kind of guy. And that came through in his music, too. He's a warm, extremely intelligent guy. Very supportive family, lovely wife who was a model, a son, sadly, who died in a car accident, another rather smart fellow, and a lovely daughter, Kim, who's still with us. Billy kept going. I mean, he was, in his later years, he was the jazz, I forgot the title, but Jazz at the Kennedy Center, which he hosted on the radio on NPR for a long time, along with Jazz Alive. He was the jazz consultant or the force behind jazz at Jazz at the Kennedy Center. He also started the Women's Jazz Festival, probably one of the first women's jazz festivals down there. He did that. He was an innovator, always helping, always supporting musicians. On CBS Sunday Morning. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. For like 20, 25 years, that was really the first network feature about jazz. Unfortunately, broadcast TV ratings changes, they dumped him after a certain point rather unceremoniously, which is a drag because every 2 or 3 weeks he was doing a feature on musicians. It was a fantastic outlet, largely before the internet, somewhat after, but a tremendous audience, potential audience of millions, seeing these features that Billy produced and talked to the greats of jazz who were around at that time. Pardon me. So, what a life! And he went into just up to like his 90s. Well, I think he had a stroke. He had a stroke. He had a heart attack or stroke that wasn't too bad, and then a few months later, he had a really bad one, and he left us. I apologize for not remembering the exact date. I believe it was 90 or 91. Yeah. Or 2001. I'm all mixed up here. Sorry about that. Or 2011. These years, like those old movies when you see time pass, you see the pages flying off the calendar. Sometimes that's what happens in life, and especially very apropos quote here. Let's see if I can get it right here. I hate to screw these things up. That's the other thing about the aging process. You remember stuff and then it disappears. It'll come back. Life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it spins. So I am very lucky in my life, which is spinning much faster now as I'm turning 73 a week from tomorrow, to have been a part of this music, heard so many incredible people, but not only growing up, but when I moved to New York to go to NYU Film School, hearing them live, getting to know them, becoming a jazz writer. What else have I done? Oh yeah, Jazz Central Station, being on the web, and then finally, since 2005, actually producing videos. Okay, Vincent, thank you. Billy Taylor, born July 24th, 1921, Greenville, North Carolina. But Billy grew up in D.C. Used to go to the Howard Theater. Tremendous Duke Ellington fan. He left us December 28th, 2010. Incredible life, incredible man. Lots of videos on this channel featuring Billy Taylor. Also, a lot of his music is here on YouTube from different parts of his career, from his later recordings for his own label to going back to his early stuff on Prestige. So just go into the YouTube search engine and look out for Billy Taylor. In fact, you know what I think I'll do? I'm going to put together a playlist now that I think of it, and put it in here in the description. So if anybody's watching this and they'd like to get a nice overview of Billy, I'll put together a playlist of some of the interviews I did with him, as well as his music. So happy birthday, Billy. I'm sorry you're not here. I wish I could give you a big hug. I love you, man. I'll never forget you. I feel very, very lucky to have known you, and your support with Jazz Video Guy and my life in general, something that means the world to me. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy. Try and love each other. And don't watch the news too much. It'll make you crazy.